Hi, welcome to episode 289 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffyk on Ravelry, Fluffykira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where this episode and every episode show notes will be. I have an Etsy shop called The Corner of Knit and Tea where I sell my hand-spun yarn and patterns, and we have a Ravelry group also called The Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, August 3rd. I have lots to tell you, and I hope that you had a lovely weekend and are off to a good start this week. First, off the top of my head, I don't want to say much more about everything that's going on with Ravelry. Suffice it to say, I have been thinking about what would be a better platform for what I refer to as the Ravelry group, so where I host my knit-alongs. I have decided to postpone the decision until the end of the month. We are currently in the holiday knit-along, Christmas in July, and I want to go ahead and finish that one off where we are. As I have said in previous videos and blog posts, if you are unable to participate on Ravelry, please just post your entries on Instagram and tag me in them, or you can also just email them to me or get a hold of me in any number of ways. I have the corner of knit and tea at gmail.com. You can find me on Ravelry and, as I said, on Twitter and Instagram. I'm also on Facebook as well. So just show me what you've done and I'll put you into the prize drawing. I am going to look for an alternative to Ravelry for our later in the year crafting. I know Facebook is kind of touchy and I don't love them either, so I'm going to explore some other options so that we can have a group of people who want to join the knit-alongs, spin-alongs, craft-alongs, etc. And the next one will be in November with the gift-along, which seems like it's not that far away, but hello, today's the beginning of August. Oh my gosh, this year is going so amazingly quickly. Anyway, I wanted to let you know I am thinking about it. I haven't made any decisions, and I don't want to switch midstream while we're in the middle of a project because I don't want anyone to get confused. So changes will be coming. I just need to think about it a little bit more. In terms of my patterns, at least right now, my patterns are available on Ravelry, but they are also available on Etsy and Lovecrafts. So if you have trouble with Ravelry, you can find them elsewhere. I appreciate any purchases you make, and I haven't decided exactly how I'm going to proceed with that either. They are for sale on Ravelry for now, but I haven't decided if I'm going to pull my patterns there and then just redirect. To be 100% honest, I will never leave Ravelry entirely. Even if I don't put my business through them, I will leave my patterns in their database, and I will want access to my designer account so that I can, say, add new patterns to the database, even if I'm going to go ahead and push them for sale elsewhere. So that's just my full transparency on what's going on right now. For any of you who are unable to use Ravelry, I am really sorry. I 100% believe that you are having problems. I generally don't have issues with accessibility, and I find that the new Ravelry design does make my eyes hurt, so I am currently using the old Ravelry design. I am mostly just struggling with the fact that it is kind of the collection point for data, the database itself, and how to promote what I'm doing and include what I'm doing in places it can be found through other platforms. So I'm continuing to think about it and work on it, but that's just where I stand and where the group, that there will be some changes coming to the group moving forward. So now that that's done, it was definitely an interesting week last week. So today is August 3rd, starting a new month of crafting. I have lots going on. I talked about a lot of crafting goals last podcast. Some of them came to be, some of them didn't. I'll have some sharing with you with that. Let's go into the regular podcast. Today I am finishing the last of my Bardic Inspiration Tea. This was a fandom blend from Adagio Teas, and it is based on role play. Sorry, it is based on Critical Role. It is the Critical Role, which is a Dungeons and Dragons. They stream online on Twitch. and I am finishing up this tea today. It is a blend for bards of passion fruit, vanilla oolong, and ginger, and I am drinking that in my tentacular mug. That's what I call it. It's a tentacle mug, and it was designed by Julia over at Semi-Cool Ceramics. She is on Etsy. She is also located in Sweden, so shipping is a bit pricey for US folks, but her work is absolutely beautiful, and I love this mug. So, and that tea is delicious, a good afternoon pick-me-up. So let's talk about what I've been knitting. Last week when I came to you, I pretty much had no projects on the needles. I went ahead and cast things on. So let's talk about the first thing I cast on. The first thing I showed you was a skein of yarn that I had balled up a while ago. It is 2If by hand. It is, I believe, their high twist merino cashmere nylon base. They are unfortunately no longer in business, and I thought it was something about prep school. It is prep school redo. So that is the colorway. It is just some bright pinks, browns, and then bits of blue and orange and yellow and green. It's kind of a rainbow. And I had talked about that I wanted to do socks for my niece, Roxy. Well, I ran into a problem as I started to do them because I realized I didn't have her current foot measurements. And while I can sort of guess based on the last sock that I knit her, because normally I work in multiples of 2 or 4, and so I could kind of guess based on the last socks that I knit for her in the spring where I was going to need to be in terms of cast on number. I really don't know how long her foot is. So this is as far as I have gotten. This is just a plain vanilla sock. I did a 2x2 rib up at the top. Sorry, the end is sticking out. I haven't woven that in yet, but I will show you. This is a 2x2 rib up at the top, and then a straight leg, a slip stitch heel flap with gusset, and then I have finished the gusset and have started on the foot. And to be fair, I could probably knit another inch or two without worrying about it. I just don't know exactly how long her feet are, so I don't know exactly how long to go. So that sort of stymied me partway through, and I am knitting this particular sock on my US 0 2.0 millimeter Knitter's Pride Zings, which I really love. These are the pink ones because they are the US 0, they're color coded. And then I was like, well, okay, if I can't keep going with that, maybe I should just cast on a sock from the other end of the ball. So I did that, and these are my Hiya zeros. And I have the cuff for the second sock cast on. So I should work through the leg and down through the heel, and then I will have 2 socks that are just missing kind of the finish of the toes. So that was kind of how I dealt with that, and then I sort of got stymied because, as I said, because I didn't know how far to go, I went, well, that's annoying because I don't have endless, I probably do have a couple more sets of US 0s, but I don't have endless sets of US 0s, so I can't just keep knitting the tops of socks and waiting to hear back from my sister on how long the kids' feet are. The kids' feet are. So the next thing that I decided to cast on was I decided to start working on, well, so I had sort of mused aloud that I might go ahead and try and knit socks for my family members for Christmas and or for the holidays, and my sister's foot is just a smidge larger than mine and my mother's foot is a smidge smaller than mine, so I decided that I was just going to go ahead and cast on for those. So I went looking in my stash, and to be honest, I was totally lazy. I knew that I had a couple skeins of sock yarn caked up, and I wanted to find something that would be superwash merino so that she could wash them along with the kids. My suggestion when I give her the socks is, well, honestly for the kids I tell her machine wash and dry. Mostly for her socks I tell her she can machine wash them on gentle and then go ahead and lay them flat to dry. So what I picked out is some crazy fine colorful yarn that I bought in a yarn tourism trip. This was bought in a yarn store in Pennsylvania the last time Wes and I went, which was a couple years ago now. And it is called What the Flock in the colorway I Feel For You. And it is this bright, sorry, I have the needle sticking out there. It is this bright sock yarn. I didn't realize that it was actually micro self-striping. I thought it was variegated in these colors. And I think I knit a square on my mom's, either my mom's or my sister's. I did a couple of these Cozy Memories blankets, and I think I held it double. I think it was my mom's blanket, and I held it double, so I didn't see the self-striping because I was holding it double to make roughly a worsted weight. Anyway, it is pink and purple and blue and tan, and I love these colorways. They actually remind me of, it reminds me of a Wool Mice colorway that I really love. And so I have started and gotten through most of the cuff. I'll probably go just a smidge longer, but that's about it. This is a 1x1 rib. I would have gone 2x2, sorry, but I was trying to decide if I was going to do a pattern, and the pattern called for a 1x1, so I went ahead and did the 1x1, and then I tried to do the pattern, and it just really wasn't showing up, so I decided that I wasn't going to bother. It was just going to be a plain vanilla sock, and that is when I figured out that it stripes really nicely. So I have the cuff mostly done. I might go a little bit further, but I don't generally make cuffs that are too terribly tall, and then I will do a slip stitch, heel flip, and gusset, and then down to the foot. My hope is maybe I'll get some time in on this one this week and finish this so that I can go on and finish up the set for her. But this will be for my sister, so I have a size 6.5 foot, and I believe hers is either a 7 or 7.5. So what I will probably do is just knit about 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch longer than my foot, and that should probably 1/2 an inch longer than my foot, and that should fit her foot just fine. And my mom has a size 5.5, so I will knit hers probably 1/2 to 3/4 of an inch smaller than mine. And this is a 60 stitch sock on US zeros, and I am using a new to me pair of Collage DPNs. I went ahead and ordered them so that I could see these are the square needles, and in full disclosure, they are a client of mine, but I decided to try them out, and I do really like them. I don't typically have any hand issues, but they are really ergonomic. Square needles allow you to grip them slightly differently than circular needles do, and it's supposed to be better for wrists and tension and carpal tunnel, arthritis, etc. And so they have a lot of customers who say that they can knit longer on these needles than they can on circular needles, so I just decided to give it a try. So that is what I am working on here. So I have a bunch of socks on the needles. This is for the 100 Days of Socks Cal that Anne is hosting over in the Woolly Wonka Fibers group and the Woolly Wonka Fibers podcast. So if you are interested in joining, there's still lots of days to go. We started at around July 19th, so I guess we're about July 17th, I think. We're about 20 days in, but well, not even that. We're about 16 or 17 days in, and it goes for 100 days. So that's all the way through mid-October. And you can double dip if you are working on holiday socks. You can go ahead and enter them over there as well. I don't know whether she's doing prizes, but it's just kind of a fun knit along. So the next project that I cast on, I didn't show you any of last week because I didn't have any of it last week. After I recorded last week, I went out to my post office box. I have well, it's not really a P.O. box, it's a UPS mailbox, but I went out because I had some packages there that I needed to pick up, and among them were some yarns for samples. So I am working on another sample for Zen Yarn Garden. This time I am actually working with one of their new yarns, and I hope I have the card here, but I'm thinking maybe I don't. I do not. I wish I did. Oh, I do. So this is their new yarn, which is called Nightshade Fingering. It's 100% superwash merino. US, it's fingering weight, US 1 to 3, needle size is 1 to 3, approximately 400 yards, and it is in the colorway Geranium. So again, this is Zen Yarn Garden. It's basically on their superfine merino base, but so the interesting thing about this one is spun, so 2 of the strands, it looks like a 3-ply, I think. Let me see. Yeah, it's a 3-ply yarn, and it looks like 2 of the strands are white and then take dye, and 1 of the strands is black. So what you get is this really cool barber poled looking yarn, and again, the colorway is Geranium, which is pinks and purples and some greens. So that's really pretty. And I am working it with some natural, and you'll see that in just a little bit. This is just the undyed superwash merino fingering. And I am working on a shawl called the Bryant Park Shawl, which is a pattern by Lavanya Patricella. And it is really cool. I don't remember seeing this pattern before, but it's got a little bit of everything in the shawl. So the first part of the shawl, it is a triangular shawl. It starts at a point. It is a paid for pattern, so I'm not going to give too much away. But the first part of the shawl is a you start at the point of the triangle, and the first part of the shawl is this really nice mesh. It's a really easy yarn over pattern. It's a 2-row pattern, not a big deal, and you work that until you have a certain number of stitches on the needle, and then you move into Lavanya's favorite, which is brioche. So then it is just kind of a plain 2-color brioche, and we're going to knit this for a while. I believe I have about... Well, I can be very specific. I have 20 of the 50 rows worked so far. So I'm 2/5 of the way through, and again, I am holding the natural with it, and so that is what it looks like. And then on the opposite side, obviously the white is, the natural is color forward, and the geranium is in the background. This is more or less a reversible shawl. I will say it's not 100% reversible because the mesh does actually have a right side and a wrong side. I don't think it looks terribly different, but you can see that this is the right side with the knits on it. And then maybe you can tell, I hope you can tell, this is the wrong side with the pearls on it. So technically the shawl does have a right side and a wrong side, but as with brioche, you could wear it either direction. So this is what I am working on. I hope to finish this week. Brioche obviously has you work double rows, so I'm counting that in the 20 rows. Technically I worked 10 rows of the pattern, which is working 20 rows. And then what I have is I have 15 rows or 30 rows basically to finish, and then a bind off. So I'm super excited about that. Total yardage is probably going to be around 600 yards. It's the full 400 for the main skein, and then half, around 200 for the brioche section. So I thought that was kind of a fun knit. It's got a little bit of everything. The brioche is really very simple. The pattern does not have a huge brioche tutorial in it, but if you are new to brioche, this actually would be a pretty easy pattern. And I believe Lavanya Patricella has done some videos on brioche knitting. So if you wanted to try this pattern, you could knit the mesh top. And then the deal is that it is triangular, and the only increases you're doing some simple brioche increases at each side, to keep the triangle growing. But otherwise it's pretty much just straight. So as far as brioche goes, I would say this is an easy brioche pattern if you're looking to learn the technique. So that has been occupying most of my time this week because I've gotten pretty far into that, and I should be finishing that up this next week, which means I will be able to cast something on. I showed you 2 projects last week. One was the Empower scarf. The knit version is by Casa Pinka, and I'm using Onyx Fiber Arts. I also showed you a Barocco kit that I ordered called the Broderie scarf, or the Broderie shawl. I have that, and then actually I do have another sample coming. I should be getting yarn in the mail this week to knit a Tegna. It's Tegna, and it is by Caitlin Hunter. That's Boylan Knitworks, and that will be another sample for a yarn company. Although that one, it's interesting. They're sending me the yarn, and I'll get to keep the sample. So I am helping them out with, they had a big custom dye order, and then the order, the person who ordered didn't end up taking it. So they have a whole bunch of yarn in a specific colorway, and so I thought I would knit up a garment in that colorway and see if it helps them sell the yarn. So that is what I'm working on in the next week or two. I hopefully will cast on Tegna before I see you again and finish this shawl, and maybe finish something about the socks, at least the first sock for my sister, and maybe if she gets me those foot lengths, I'll get through that this week. So the only other thing that's like currently in progress, quote, on the needles is my blanket. I brought it to show you, and as usual I am in the middle of a row because apparently I can't complete a row. I was working on this during my staff meeting today, and staff meeting was over and I wasn't done with the row. So this is the kit that I am using for Roxy's blanket, I am using the Woodland Crochet Along pattern, which is by Lucy of Attic 24. The pattern is free on her blog. It is for a ripple afghan in kind of a feather and fan pattern. She designed it to go with a specific kit of yarn. She sells kits through Woolmarket in the UK, and she uses Stylecraft in their DK weight base, which is an acrylic it's an acrylic yarn, which is 300 yards to the skein. It's roughly a DK weight, and it is actually a really nice yarn, and it softens really well after you wash it. I chose to use acrylic for the kids' blankets because I want them to wear like iron. I want them to be able to use them forever, and I decided that acrylic would be really good for that. Though I am using the Woodland Crochet Along pattern, I am not using that color kit for this. I am actually using a different one, which is the Sweet Pea kit. And for those of you who have been with me for a while, you'll know that this blanket starts out in the greens, starting with my lightest green and working towards the darkest. I am doing kind of a gradient knit with this, and I am working the colors in a little bit like alternating in the colors, and it reminds me a little bit of Missoni, but the whole project is going to be a gradient. This is as opposed to the previous blanket I did where I just did color progressions. So sorry, I went kind of end of the rainbow red. I started at red, went to the end of the rainbow in the purple, and then worked back to red, etc. So I've got the greens, I got through my initial purples, kind of my clovers and lilacs and clematis, and then I have started going into the pinks. There was a little bit of cream in there, and now I am using something called Candy Floss and like a super pale baby pink, and then I'm starting to go back into the pinks. On this end, there are a few kind of peaches that are next, and then we will get into magentas and super bright purples like plums. So I am roughly halfway through the blanket at this point, which I can show you because it is close to my, well, it's not really my wingspan. I think I'm stretching it, but it is fairly long. The finished blanket, I believe Miles was between 7 and 8 feet. Part of that may also be that I believe I'm using a G crochet hook, which is what the pattern calls for, but I did not do a gauge swatch. I know based on the last blanket that I did, I know how big it came out, but I also know that I had enough yarn to do what I was doing. So I'm not really concerned about this one. I will continue to do this one, and then it will just have a simple border, and I haven't decided the border will either be in this color or because the lightest green only got 3 stripes at the beginning as opposed to the regular 6 stripes. I know that's kind of technical, but yeah. And then the ending color will only have 3 stripes, so those all have a half a ball left of each. So one of the 2 of those or both of those will be the border. Plan is that I need to have this finished by Roxy's birthday, which is at the end of October. At this point, it is the beginning of August, and I am halfway done on the blanket. I believe I started the blanket towards the end of June, so I have about a month and a half work into this. So that tells me that I will be done in plenty of time, which is great. And I hope she's gonna love it. But this is the really girly section right in here, and kind of the pastel section. It's gonna go back out to a lot more color, and I will bring that back in a couple weeks once I've done more color. So the other thing that has been keeping me busy this week is I have been busy knitting chicken feathers, and I did not bring them to show you, but I did bring some of the yarn that I have spun to show you, because I'm spinning for this as well, which is also why it's taking up so much of my crafting time. So this time around we're doing a really colorful chicken. I've been joking that it's a rainbow chicken. It is going to be designed after a certain style of quilt that I in particular am not familiar with, but the artists are familiar with, and so basically they sent me some different colors to sort of experiment with together. So I first spun up the kind of dark, this is kind of a cornflower blue, and then I also have a light kind of sky blue to go with that. So those are the first 2 colors I spun up. The other color that features prominently in the quilt that they showed me is this kind of coral color. So these 3 are kind of the 3 main colors, and then we're adding in other colors in bits and pieces. And so far the other colors that I have to add in are this kind of buttery yellow, and some of these I've already knit with, this buttery yellow and this kind of seafoam green. So let me see if I can put these on my fingers so that I can show you what they look like together. So this is what I have so far. I am doing this along with a natural colored fiber, which is right here, which I have also been spinning. And then there are other colors. There is kind of a dark, I don't want to say forest green, but kind of and it's not even a Kelly green. It's just like a dark, rich green that I will hold against this for some of the work. And then I also have another orange, which is a little bit brighter. It's not as coral. It's a lot more true orange. And then I have a red, which is just going to be just a couple feathers for very, very little accents. And then I actually have one more yellow. Truthfully, the only things I have left to spin up are the yellow and the second bobbin of the neutral color, the white, or the natural. All of the others are spun, and they are in various stages of being washed and measured and then winding them up to work with them. I washed the green yesterday. I'm going to wash the other orange today. I spun up the red last night, so that'll get washed tomorrow. You know, constantly moving around here, but that has also been taking up my time. I just didn't bring them to show you. The interesting thing this time is I'm knitting. Normally when I knit feathers, I have showed you kind of the feather arrangements that I make where I sew them together. On this one, I am just knitting all the individual feathers, and they're going to put them together when they see how they look on the chickens. So they're just going to go ahead and pin them all over and get kind of the quilting design that they want, like patches in all different colors. So it's been a lot less finishing work for me this time because I'm just sort of knitting, and I even get to leave some of the tails there because they'll use the tails to sew things up. However, I don't have anything really finished to show you because I'm not finishing this time. So I'm excited to see what this looks like. My guess is it'll be another month or two before it comes out, but I will I usually share the photos of the finished chickens on my feed, and I stick them in Ravelry, so if you can use Ravelry, you can see what I'm up to. So that's this week. I suspect I have one more week of spinning for chickens, and then I'm going to go back to that Hello Yarn Corriedale for socks. I did recently purchase a couple braids. I saw a few very pretty things, and so those will probably be next on my wheel, and I will show them to you as I start to bring them out to spin them. Excuse me. I think that about covers it. I started this episode with welcome to episode 289. That is a guess based on what I think I remember from last time. This might be episode 290, so if it is, you'll get a good laugh at me and be like, what did she say at the beginning? So I think that's it for today. Slightly shorter than I have been. I hope you are doing well. I hope you are staying healthy. You are finding solace in your crafting or joy in your crafting. I am starting to feel the siren call of fall. I have a sweater that I want to cast on that I already have all the yarn for. I have another sweater pattern that I found the other day that I really want to work on. I have all these socks that I need to knit. I have winter gear for the kids. I have so many things to knit and that I want to knit. And I just want to be knitting all the time right now, which to me, usually it happens a little bit later in August when the weather potentially starts to cool off a little bit, but it's starting to hit me right now. So anyway, I hope you are well. I hope you have a wonderful week. And until I see you again, I will say, as I always do, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.